What's up, real ones? Welcome back to the Relationship Podcast, where we're bringing the real back to relationships.
Yes, sir.
I'm Asha Still.
And I'm Devin Still.
And we're so excited that you guys are tuning in today with us.
Yeah, man. You know what's crazy?
What?
I was just thinking about this earlier. We're like 90 days away from the year ending.
Yes.
Like we're almost 90 days away from 2021, and it seems like, not too long ago, the ball just dropped and we were celebrating, 2020, the year of, clear vision for your life.
Yeah.
Right. I know a lot of people just had a lot of big hopes for 2020, but, life just hit everybody.
Okay.
We lost a lot of important people to our culture. We got hit with this pandemic, and it really just messed up a lot of people's goals that they set for their lives. So I know I hear a lot, people talking about they wish 2020 will be over with. And, sometimes I do feel the same way. But when I look back at, 2020, although it was a hard year, there's a lot of memorable moments in 2020.
Yeah.
And especially for us, buying our first home, which was a goal that we set out for ourselves. Man, a big goal. Leah turning 5 years in remission, cancer free, celebrating, Arya turning 1 year old. Like there's a lot of important moments in 2020. So, I'm not the type of person that's like, oh, let's get 2020 over with, or I wish 2020 never happened, because that would mean a lot of big moments for us didn't happen. And I realized that, a new year doesn't bring a new me, right? Just because 2020 ends and 2020 comes along, it doesn't mean that life is going to change. Like it's actual steps that people have to take in their life right now in order to create that new year, new me. So my question to you is, like, what is one specific goal that you have for yourself these next 90 days? Like, how do you want to end 2020 with a bang so that you have that momentum going into the new year?
Well, one specific goal. Well, I'll just say that I really just want to dive deep into all my goals that I had set out for myself, whether it be from working with the podcast to, being a new student in school and everything. And my fitness goals, I just want to really go in and give my all these next 90 days, because I want to go into the new year, not like necessarily being like, oh, it's a new year, my new resolution, this new me. I want to already have that mentality going in so that I can just already have my goals set and continue to strive for new goals and greatness and do what I need to do.
Right.
But one specific goal I would definitely say is to pass my current classes with I'll say a 3.0 GPA.
Okay.
Just because it's a huge challenge for me just going back to school after so long. So I just want to make sure that I am being the best student that I can possibly be so that I can excel in my future,
I love it. I know for me, I had some big fitness goals going into 2020. One of them was to, lose 50 pounds and get down to 250. And, I had a lot of setbacks along that journey, from getting into the car accident and not being able to work out for months. And then, my back just flaring up all the time because I've had a lot of injuries from playing football, specifically back surgery. And it's just like, it holds me back from doing a lot of things. So what I want to do is just dedicate myself to the next 90 days to get down to that 250 pounds. Like I want to go into the new year being the person I said I was going to be before the year is over. So that's one specific goal I want to do, is to weigh 250 pounds, which is something I haven't weighed since I was like in 11th grade or something.
Yeah.
Right. So that's like, I'm 294 now. So that's 44 pounds I have to lose.
You can do it.
I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it.
You have no choice.
Yeah,
you guys, we said it right here for y'all.
I gotta look grown and sexy for my baby.
We gotta hold ourselves accountable.
Yeah, she got a sweet tooth, so I have to, make her something that's low in fat and good for your body. You feel me?
Okay, that's what I like to hear. We definitely have to hold each other accountable. You guys, we told y'all so. Yeah, we got to hold each other accountable, all of us. So I just feel like people should have that mentality overall. Just, just taking the good from, a bad situation and trying to, because it's been a horrible year so far. It's been a lot of negativity.
It's been a lot of horrible moments in the year. I wouldn't say overall it's been a horrible year because the year is not over yet.
That's true. But I mean, just as it's been really bad for a lot of people, especially with the pandemic and people being affected by it and losing loved ones and it just being so abrupt. It's definitely been a huge adjustment for a lot of people and life-changing for a lot of people. So even with us going into 2021 and not knowing, what the future holds, especially for the pandemic, because we're still not really in the clear of anything, I hope that it just gives most of us just like, a breath of fresh air and just something to look forward to and better days ahead of us because we definitely need it as a whole. So
speaking of a breath of fresh air and better days, it's why are you laughing?
I don't know.
You think I'm about to say something crazy?
I don't know. What?
No, I'm not about to say nothing crazy. I'm being serious right now. I know I joke around a lot, but I'm being serious. So speaking of a breath of fresh air and better days, this is like the holiday season coming up. And, one thing that me and Asha always like to do around the holiday season is just bring joy to other people and be a light to, some people's darkness, because we know that the holiday season can be tough for a lot of people, people who lost family members. They can't spend time, with their family members, or they're in a tough financial situation. And, Christmas comes along and it's like, you're not excited because you're trying to figure out how you can provide, that exciting Christmas for your kids. And, I've been there before when I was a kid, and I think Christmas was always a stressful time for my parents because they didn't know how they were going to, have a million gifts under the tree, which wasn't really important to me. I had my parents in my life and that's all that really mattered, but it was important for them. So what we like to do is just be that bright spot in people's lives during the holiday season. So we're definitely going to do that this year. With the Real Relationship podcast, we're going to be that bright spot in people's lives, and we're going to let y'all know the information soon. So we just encourage y'all to, subscribe to our email. You can go to our website at REALationships.podcast.com and subscribe. Make sure that you're subscribing to our podcast and you're, rating and review it, because listen to me, man. We say it every episode. Make sure you rate and review. Rate and review. It's a tongue twister. Rate and review the podcast.
Yes.
And some of y'all do. We got like 400 5-star reviews, but we be having thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of listeners. So the numbers is not adding up. Like, what y'all doing? Are y'all that busy? You can't just go drop a review, leave a 5-star for us?
Yeah.
Like, come on now.
Show us the love.
Yeah,
we need y'all love and support.
Just make sure that you're subscribed to our email list. You subscribe to our podcast, because this is going to be a big holiday season where we really want to make a difference in our listeners' lives. So make sure you go ahead and do that.
Yes. So before we get into the topic, you guys, we like to have a question from one of our real ones.
Yes.
So this question kind of plays on today's topic. So it says, hey, I got a question for you guys. If a woman cheats and gets pregnant during marriage or while separated, what should he do? That's a little spicy one. That's serious. That's really serious. You don't have nothing to say? So I'll just say that's really hard.
It ain't nothing hard about that.
You out
It said if a woman cheats, and let's not even say if a woman cheats, if your spouse cheats and gets somebody pregnant or becomes pregnant, what should you do? What was that NSYNC song?
Bye, bye, bye.
I'm out. That's no go.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, it's a lot of people that will try to answer it the politically correct way.
Well, this is the Real Relationship podcast, and we keep it real. I'm not sticking around. If you get pregnant by somebody if we're separated, I don't even know what's up with the separation thing. But if you are separating, I'm guessing it's with the hopes that you are able to work on yourself so that you can come back together and form a stronger unit. And you can't do that if you're spending your time trying to, have sex with other people.
Yeah.
So, and then you come back and then I'm looking at this baby and I'm seeing it's like a reminder of what you did.
Yeah.
It's not happening.
I feel like a lot of people probably went through that similar situation, and it's hard, especially like you said, you're bringing a child in, so you're constantly reminded of what that person did to you, the hurt that they caused you.
Right.
And it also shows a lot of like just disrespect and negligence on your part, because not only are you stepping out on our marriage, on our relationship, but you out here having unprotected sex.
No, I wore a condom. It broke.
Even still, like, it's just like you're just being like neglectful. Like, it just doesn't make any sense, because not only you could be bringing something home, whether it be like a STD or whatever, to your spouse, and then God forbid you bring a child into this world and you're creating a environment for that child that's not healthy, because you're bringing into them into a world of drama and just like a broken home, because now you decided to go step out on something that you were supposed to have a union with, right? And build a family with. And now that child is supposed to be basically the outcome of just you deciding to just do what you want to do and step out on that person. So I think it will affect a lot of people, especially the child. It will affect your marriage. And I think that it's very irresponsible. So I probably would say I would have to go my separate ways, unfortunately.
Mine's is not a probably. But you're going to have to make that decision for yourself. Yeah. You have to ask yourself and be serious, all jokes aside, like, can I really, like, because when you forgive somebody, a lot of times when people say that they forgive somebody, they always bring up the past, right? If you can't let it go, then you need to let the marriage go, right? Because you can't keep throwing something in somebody's face after you tell them that you forgave them for it, right? So you have to ask yourself, can I really forgive my wife for doing this? And also, can I create a healthy environment for our kids as well as the kid that she's bringing in to our marriage?
Right.
Because you can't take your anger out on the kid because of what your wife did. So there's a lot of things that you have to ask yourself, and a lot of things that you have to work on internally before you bring that kid in that environment. But that's a tough situation you're in, and I'm telling you right now, I'll be out.
Yeah. I mean, but it's some people that probably have made it work, so it's not necessarily...
You made it work, come on our podcast. Let us know how you did it, because I'm never doing it.
But no, to be serious, like, I'm sure there is people that have made it work and got past that. But like you said, I feel like it's a matter of the personal opinion and how you feel about it, and your mindset and how you go into the situation and handle it. If you feel like it's something that you can't handle, you guys can't work through, and you can't be mature about the situation, and have that relationship with that child and not take, what your spouse has done out on the child and, try to move forward, then by all means, do what works best for your family. But if that's not the case, then might have to go.
Yeah.
So
speaking on this topic, we got a interesting topic for y'all today.
Yes. So
one that was highly requested.
So a lot of people have been requesting us to talk about infidelity, cheating. And so, we decided that, we put it off for quite some time, because we did talk about discussing it on the podcast probably like when we first started, because it's inevitable, like, to talk about it if you're on a relationship podcast or whatever, relationship platform, that you'll talk about something that happens in a lot of relationships, right?
Yeah.
But it was something that we kind of strayed away from, or I'll say probably I'm more so strayed away from, just because, like I told you guys before, I'm not the one to always put so much of my business out, I'm very cautious with what I put out, because just of my own reasonings. So I wasn't ready at the time to discuss this, okay?
I was ready.
Get myself ready. But I was
ready from day one.
Yeah. But you're very, like I said, you're much more open than me.
No, but that's not even, for me, that's not even the reason why I was ready for day one. It's like I said, like it really annoyed me when I would see, these so-called perfect relationships online. And some of them are people we know, like that portray these perfect relationships online, and then like their followers like really buy into it. Right. And then they start to look down at their relationship because they're like, man, we should be like this. Like, how come my husband's not like this? How come my wife is not like this? Why don't we have a marriage like this? And it hurts a lot of relationships.
Yeah.
And then it comes out later on that they were dealing with the same issues that everybody is dealing with. But they wasn't sharing that with people because they was trying to, give off a certain image.
Right.
And I just felt like since we were in the public eye, that we needed to be the outlier, that we needed to be that couple that's like, look, this is real marriage. Like, these are the ups and downs of marriage, and hopefully we can share our experience to help other people navigate through their marriage. So I understood that being able to, be transparent and dive into your dark spots or dark spots in your relationship may bring light to other people's relationships. So I was just ready to be that open book for people so we can talk about real issues and work through them together as couples.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's just dive deep into it because I know y'all been waiting for it. So I'll just start off,
Like, what were your thoughts about cheating growing up? Like, did you see it a lot?
So I definitely saw a lot of cheating as a child growing up, from my own parents, from family members, family friends. Like, I saw it consumed a lot of relationships around me as a child. And I don't want to necessarily, it was like, say it was like the norm, but it was almost like it was, in a sense, like, because it was so many people that were dealing with it around me. Right. And so it never made me think in my mind as a child that it was okay. But it just made me realize how much toxicity come just from that action, right? Because I saw how it affected family members after that one initial action happened. How it separated them, how it caused the division and caused the anger and the fights and the frustration, and everything just started to crumble from that person's action. So I definitely just felt like that started to kind of mold me in a sense to feel like, you know what, this ain't the look. Like, cheating on your spouse is not it, because look at all the damage it's caused. Like, it separated families, like it separated my parents, it separated other people, my family members, cousins, whoever, aunts, uncles who were together. And so it's just like, nah, it definitely put a bad taste in my mouth from the beginning as a child.
Yeah, mine's pretty similar. I think I just had a bunch of, I grew up in a very toxic environment that really gave me a toxic mindset as a man. And I just start from when I was younger. Like I told y'all before, I'm gonna tell y'all again, my parents got divorced when I was in 3rd grade. And one of the reasons why my parents got divorced was because, my mom stepped out on the marriage. And like ever since that moment, like I saw how hurt my dad was. I saw how it broke my family apart. And I didn't trust women because I know my dad didn't trust women. Like I used to hear him talking about, oh, I ain't never getting married again and all this other stuff. And I knew it was because of, he was hurt about what happened. And, I always told myself that I ain't trust no women either because I'm not trying to be in that situation, when I get older. And then just like growing up in the area I grew up in, listening to the type of music I listened to, was just like, there was no real good examples on how to be a man, how to step up and be a man in a relationship. Like I remember in high school, and this is very toxic behavior, but it's real. Like sometimes in the summertime, like we would have bets on who would sleep with the most girls that summer. Don't do that. Don't look at me like that. Like it was like real, like the wood. Like you would see who could sleep with the most girls. So it was like in my mind, it was programming me to believe that the more women you slept with, the more of a man you were. right?
Okay.
So I took that mindset into, being when I was a kid in high school, and then when I went to college, it was just like it was amplified because I was a D1 athlete and I was doing really good in college, and it was just like it was easy to just do whatever I wanted to do, and I didn't really take women serious at all. I didn't respect women, should I say, because to be honest, I didn't respect women. I didn't respect their feelings towards this, the situations that we were in. My experience with previous relationships, like there was a lot of, funny stuff going on in there, a lot of non-trustworthy things happening. And it continued to, support my thoughts about women. Like they can't be trusted. And, we've had issues when we first met where there was things that I didn't trust that you were doing, because I know you just coming out of a long-term relationship. So I didn't know if you was like on the fence with thinking about going back to your ex. So it was like I didn't take anything serious. So even when me and Asha first started talking, like I made it seem as though she was the only girl I was talking to. And of course that wasn't true. And I talked about, you ain't got to do all this. We already worked through this. Don't do this. No. So I would really act funny. Like, I wouldn't give passwords. I would keep my phone on my hip all the time. If I go into the bathroom, I'm taking, my phone with me. Like I just didn't want her around my phone because I knew the dirt that I was doing.
Ladies, those are the warning signs, the red flags.
Yeah, it's
or
crazy.
Fellas, yes.
Yeah, so I was trying to hide everything that I was doing. Even when we got into a relationship, I was still, talking to other girls on, social media and things of that nature. And like I said, during our Bible study, I cheated during those times. And it's crazy because I can't say that I cheated because I didn't trust you, because that was early on. Like you proved to me that you was a stand-up woman, like that you was different than other women. And even though I had something good, I still didn't feel like I needed to, stop doing what I was doing. Because I believe that, cheating doesn't matter. If we're not married, then what does it matter?
Which a lot of people believe.
Yeah, that's what I swear. That's what I honestly thought. I'm like, if I'm not married, then what does it matter if I'm talking to other girls? You know what I mean? And it was very like a very toxic mindset. And I feel like a lot of men have that mindset, or we're stuck in that mindset where we do think the more women we talk to, the more of a man we are. Like, it's crazy to me that we will go out there, because a lot of times you sleep with certain girls to impress your friends. Like, well, guess who I slept, but guess what I did? Like, you're spending all your time and energy trying to prove yourself to your friends and impress your friends instead of proving yourself to your woman, or ladies vice versa. Like proving yourself to your partner, being that stand-up person for your partner. And it took time for me to really grow out of that. Like, it's not, you couldn't change me. Like, a lot of times people think that they can change the way a person thinks. Well, I'm gonna speak on a man. Women think that they can change the way a man is, right? And it's not true. Like, I had to look myself in the mirror and say, look, man, you can't keep using this as an excuse to not be a stand-up guy.
Yeah.
Like, so what if you didn't have that example for you? So what? Nobody showed you what, true love was, like how to be a man when it comes to being in relationships. Like, you have to break the cycle. At some point, somebody in your family, a man in your family, needs to break the cycle and be that man that you need to be. Right. And I had to make that decision for myself, and we haven't had a problem with that, but since then. But during this time, Asha didn't know.
Yeah, I feel like it's interesting because, just to go back a little bit, like I had experienced dating a lot of cheaters. And so I was kind of like prone to the red flags almost in a sense. And I don't even know if it was me necessarily being prone or if I was just looking for it because I was so used to dealing with so many cheaters, you know, which I feel like a lot of people end up doing is like just taking the baggage, you'll say, or taking the toxicity from your previous relationship into another one. And now, you know, this person before did you so wrong. And now you're looking for what this person that you're with now is doing, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes they may not be doing something, but just that interaction creates, you know, them to feel like, well, dang, like I'm not doing nothing, but you bringing that type of energy, and that might make them feel like that, right? That they need to do that. But sometimes they are doing it. And so you're finding what you're looking for, unfortunately. So I had experienced that. And I had literally, like you said, just gotten out of a relationship where it was magnified that I was dealing with it. So going into our relationship, I don't know if it was me necessarily just being naive and not thinking it, because initially, like, I had conversations with friends or family members like, oh, he's in the NFL. He has a flock of women probably coming around him, trying to get with him. So in the back of my mind is like, if I was just dealing with boy who was dealing with everybody community, then what makes you think that he not to be community, you know? And so in my mind, it was just me being naive and just turning it off in a sense, like, oh, because we spent so much time together, because he was interacting with me and showing me things that was kind of different than what I had experienced before, and he was giving me so much interest. And I'm like, well, dang, he could be out here with whoever, whenever, but he's giving me so much attention, which he seemed to balance well. Because clearly,
which is not a good thing.
Yeah, which clearly
it's not something I'm proud of.
He was, you know, doing whatever the case may be. But I also started to, like I said, take the same patterns and habits that I had from previous relationships with just trying to detect certain things and, oh, well, what is this? What is this comment? What is this? Who is this in the phone? What you doing with this? And so I started to like really start to question and allow that mentality that I had from before with dealing with, you know, cheaters in a relationship affect our relationship. So it was kind of like blindsided to me a little bit when you ended up telling me, because it was just like, I did feel like I put so much trust into you because of how you were perceiving yourself to be.
Yeah.
That I didn't really necessarily think that he was out there doing it. Shame on me to think like that. But it is what it is. And like you said, I'll let you go into it a little bit if you want to touch on it. But I just felt like I definitely was in a space where I was completely like, I wouldn't say completely, but a good portion of me was just like shocked and finding it out.
Yeah. So like I said, Asha didn't know about me cheating. Like, she's never caught me cheating. But it was just a time where, and this was after we were married. This is like 3-4 years after we're married that I told her. And initially, this was something that I was going to take to the grave with me, like the things that I did, you know, before we were married. But, you know, I just started having these feelings, like these strong feelings to tell Asha about the things that I did in the past, because I felt like it was disrespectful and selfish. Like, although I knew that I wasn't that person anymore, that I grew, that I changed, I didn't feel like it was right for me to choose who she wanted to spend the rest of her life with. Like, for her to be blind to the man that I used to be, right? I felt like, although I was scared to tell her, I felt like I had to deal with the consequences for whatever I did, but she needed to know exactly what I did. And, you know, I was having these thoughts of telling her, and I was fighting it. Like, it was like a week that I was fighting it, man. I just felt like God just kept telling me, like, tell her. And I'm like, no, like, is you crazy? Like, you know, she gonna snap if I tell her what I did. Like, it don't matter how many years ago it was, like, I'm not telling her. But it's just like I kept having this feeling like, man, tell her and whatever you got to do, just work through that issue. But this is not something you can take to the grave. This is something you need to step up and be a real man and, tell what you did. And, I did it, and it didn't feel good because I saw the hurt and the pain in her eyes. I know, the amount of trust that we've built up over the years. Mm-hmm. And I just felt like at that moment, the trust was lost. And it's interesting because I heard a pastor say before that, trust is lost in buckets and it's earned back in drops. Mm-hmm. And I felt like I saw the bucket pour out that day that I told you what I had did early on in our relationship.
Yeah. So what do you feel, or why do you feel you needed to cheat, or why you feel like men feel like they need to cheat from a man's perspective?
Man, I just felt like we've been taught wrong by society. Like, I really feel like we never really had great examples. And I can only talk from my experience, from a black man's experience. Like, our families were broken up early on. Like, there's a lot of people who grew up who didn't have dads in that household. Mm-hmm. Like, a lot of people don't like to really talk about the impact that, slavery and stuff had on, the black household, but it broke families up. So there wasn't a lot of examples set in our house. Mm-hmm. And, when you listen to the type of music and then women are constantly put in front of your face when people idolize, men who sleep with a bunch of women, I think that that's what we grow up to believe. Mm-hmm. That we need to have a bunch of women in our life. Like, that's how you prove yourself. That's how you prove yourself to, your friends and stuff like that. And even if you got something good, you'll still go out there and just do what you want to do. Mm-hmm. I feel like there's a lot of selfishness, and, it took for me to really grow up. Like, I had to grow up because I honestly believe that it did not matter as long as you weren't married.
Yeah. I feel like, do you almost feel like it's like a sense of immaturity, in a sense, like you're just not mature enough mentally? Because it's just like, well, what, I don't know. Like, to me, it's just like, well, why? Why do you feel the need if you have someone say, because you see it all the time where people, even with celebrities, right? You have big name celebrities. You could say Jay-Z and Beyonce, like, where people idolize people or feel like this is the perfect person, or this person is so great of a woman or so great of a man to you. And then you go out and step out on that person. Is it your mental maturity, your sexual maturity, that you feel like you still, although this person is giving you everything, that you're still not getting enough and you need more?
I think it has a lot to do with immaturity, but it also has a lot to do with us not working through our stuff as men. Mm-hmm. Like, not working through our issues. Like, what I saw happen to my parents happened when I was, in third grade? I don't even know how old you are in third grade. Leah's 10 in fifth grade. So you're like 8 years old. Mm-hmm. Like, that had a big impact on me in the way that I trusted women. And throughout those years, I never worked on my stuff. Mm-hmm. Like, I know I had issues dealing with trust with women, and I never really, stepped up and handled my business. I act like it didn't really have an impact on me. So I just feel like it was a lot of things that were just, adding up, just being immature, that not working through the problems that I that I was going through from my past. And I don't even know why. It's like, you don't even think about the consequences.
Yeah.
Like, you're just selfish. Like, you're just trying to live in a moment and you don't even think about the impact that it really has. It's just like you're just trying to satisfy a sexual urge that you may have at that time. And, what I learned from that is that, like, before you make the decision, I say this all the time, that a lot of people say you make a decision and live with it, but I believe you make a decision and live with the consequences. Mm-hmm. And before you decide to step out on your relationship, before you decide to step out, on your marriage, you need to think about the consequences. Like, because the decisions you make in your life just don't impact you, but they impact the people around you. Yeah. They're going to impact your partner. They're going to impact your kids and your kids' future. Like, I said before, like I was extremely impacted by what my parents went through. And I'm trying to be the example right now. I'm trying to be the person who breaks that cycle and like, look, I'm going to show what real love is. I'm going to show that you can step up and really be that man that you need to be for your family. You know, I got 2 daughters. I got to set the example for them. Mm-hmm. I got to become the man that they should look for as they get older, because I'm that first example of a man. So it's like a lot of things that I think about now before I do anything, which is something I really didn't do in the past.
Yeah. I feel like our situation, or even with the way or how you told me or when you told me, is very unique to our situation with how it affected us and how it ultimately, you know, impacted our journey of healing. Just because, like I said from before, with dealing with cheaters, I had the mentality that once a cheater, always a cheater, right? Because that's what I was used to. I was, you cheated this time, I take you back, you cheat again. So that's all that I believe, right? This person could never change. If you're a cheater, you're going to always be a cheater. Like it's who you are pretty much. And so that's how I felt about it, about anyone. So to me, like, even with the timing of how you told me, right? Because like you said, we had been married when you told me about you stepping out on a relationship before we got married, right? And so how I would have processed it beforehand was, I feel like, way different than how I processed it when you did, right?
And just a disclaimer, I was wrong for waiting so long after we was married. Yeah. Like, I believe that is something I should have told you before we even got married, so that you could make the decision, like, do I want to spend the rest of my life with this man? Yeah. Like, I feel like before you get married, like, everything got to come out the closet. Right. Like, all the skeletons have to come out the closet. So that is definitely, first of all, if there's one thing I would change, it would be not cheating at all. But second, it was just to get all the skeletons out the closet before we even get married, because then I feel like that influenced your decision or your healing process, because we were already married. Yeah. Now. So that's something that I would definitely change.
Yeah. Well, I feel like to say that as well, that just being in my position, and like I said, feeling like from before, you've been down this road before, you experienced someone that cheated, you see the red flags, you know the warning signs, and you still overlook it, or you just seeing so much great, and then you want to just kind of like let that overshadow what you may be concerned about. I feel like that was a huge mistake on my part, because if it was times where I felt like, oh, this is a little suspect or this is a little iffy, right, versus me just like, you know, putting it in the back of my mind or being naive or just wanting to focus so much on the good and allowing what I was feeling, my gut feeling, to, you know, just let it be what it is, right? Not even take it into consideration. I feel like that was a fault on my end, because I had been down that road before. And in previous situations, like I said, and constantly taking the person back or people back, because it wasn't just in one relationship, I realized how toxic it was for me, right? For me to keep putting myself in that environment, to keep allowing myself to love someone who was continuously hurting me, who's stepping out on me, who clearly didn't care about me that much if you continuously hurt me and cause me all this pain, right? So I didn't allow myself to really go through that process like I had been before, with removing myself from a situation that I felt like, well, this isn't good for me, right, with us, right, because I was too busy overlooking it. And I don't know if it was just because of everything going on, because like I said, we had a very like chaotic couple of years when we first was dating, just from even with you, with your career, and then injuries from that, and then with Leah diagnosis, and then
baby mama drama,
and then us getting engaged, and then trying to plan the wedding. It was a roller coaster, right? So it was like my mind was pulled in so many directions that it's like, if I did feel like something was going on, I kind of like swept it under the rug a little bit, right? So I feel like that was a huge mistake on my part, because it's like, If you feel like something ain't right, or if you feel like you questioning something or you uneasy about something, then you should probably address it. Excuse me, especially if you are engaged and you are moving forward toward marriage, because you don't want to go into your marriage with just like skeletons in your closet, baggage, and drama that you can, kind of hash out beforehand.
Right.
So I think that was the biggest thing for me, or lesson for me to have learned from the situation. I mean, I ain't going to get married again, so I wouldn't be able to change that. But just knowing that and being able to give that advice to someone else is just like, if you feel a certain type of way, address it. Have that conversation. If you're uncomfortable or uneasy about it, talk about it, because most of the times you'll get the answer or find what you're looking for, right?
Yeah.
And so I feel like with our situation, with it being so unique, whereas I would have left the situation, we would have broken up. It would have been like, oh, this isn't good. This is causing, too much drama, too much chaos. Let me exit stage left, right? I wasn't given that opportunity,
right?
Because then we went forward and got married. So then in finding out when I did, it was like, one, okay, we a couple years in, right? You telling me about something that was years before us getting married, and my emotions is there because I'm frustrated and angry that I even allow myself to think that you was this highly of a person, that you didn't step out on me, but you lied to me. Right. So now I'm questioning your actions now to this day in this marriage, although you were, and like, to give an example, Instagram was a huge thing for us, right? Yeah. Because it was constantly like, if he was to like a picture, or someone was putting heart eyes or something, like, I always read into it. And sometimes what I was reading into was something inappropriate and more than what it should have been. So with that type of situation, now I'm looking back and questioning everything like that, right? I'm questioning things now that's going on, like, even if it wasn't, you're not doing nothing on social media no more. Like, you change your patterns, you change your habits, which was making me think a certain type of way before. Right. And although you had did that and you were completely like not doing anything, I'm still questioning everything that he's doing at this point.
And I think that as the person who steps out on their relationship, they have to understand that. Yeah. Because a lot of times you get frustrated, like, oh, well, I'm not doing nothing. Why you keep doing this? Like, you brought that into the relationship. So you have to accept the consequences that come with, your actions. So it's like, I never complained about the way that you started to act. Mm-hmm. Because I completely changed. Like, I knew I wasn't doing nothing, didn't have no thoughts about doing anything. But like I said, you got to earn, that trust back and drop. So you just have to take whatever consequences are thrown at you, and then you have to really work to, make things right. And I know earlier I talked in the podcast and I said that, I was doing those things because I didn't respect women. Mm-hmm. And as I got older and more mature, I realized I didn't respect women, but I didn't respect myself. Mm. Because why do I feel as though that everybody gets that side of me? Mm-hmm. That everybody gets a piece of me? Like, my body is supposed to be sacred, right? Mm-hmm. And a lot of times we don't look at it that way. Like, we just share our bodies with whoever, whenever, just to satisfy our urge. Yeah. And there's a lot of things, like, having sex is just not about having fun. Mm-hmm. Because, like, your fun can be somebody else's misery. Like, it could be your partner's misery. Or let's just say you out there just having sex with anybody, and then you end up having a kid, but you never really had feelings for this person. Mm-hmm. Now it becomes that kid's misery. So it's like, I had to realize that not only did I need to start respecting women, but I needed to start respecting myself. Right. And thinking of myself in a different type of light. Because like I said, not everybody deserves every part of you. Yeah. And so I feel like it, just like talking about how it affected us in that moment, like, you can kind of express how it felt when you had told me, because to me, I was in complete shock. Like, I feel like my reaction may have surprised you, right? Because, no, it did. Because like I said, I was scared to tell you because I thought you were going to snap. Mm-hmm. And I was scared telling you because not even just about your reaction, because I felt like whatever reaction you had was warranted. Mm-hmm. But I was scared because I didn't want to hurt you. Mm-hmm. And I knew who I was in that moment wasn't who I used to be. Right? Mm-hmm. That I changed, that I wasn't that man, but I just still felt like I owed it to you to be completely honest. Right. Because a lot of things, one thing that I think that is very disrespectful that you do when you step out on your relationship is you allow other people to look down on your relationship. Mm-hmm. Like, there's somebody else there like, man, he don't really love her. Like, look at them all posted up. She don't know what we were doing, or he don't know what I was doing with his woman. Like, to be able to have people be able to say those type of things mm-hmm. behind your partner's back, I think is very disrespectful. Right. So coming out to you and telling you that and having you go through those feelings, it was a scary thing, but I felt like it was necessary. And like you said, you were real calm about it in the moment. When I told you, but I thought that was like the calm before the storm. I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming eventually, but the hurt that I saw in your eyes, it ripped me apart.
Yeah. But I feel like my reaction, I surprised myself, honestly, with my reaction. I feel like that was just my growth from previous experiences, because it was just like, I could have turned up, right? Like, I was hurt, I was frustrated, I was angry, I was upset. I was just a ball of, emotions, because it's just like you're really telling me this, that what you was doing, but now you're telling me this in the timing of it, right? Yeah. So that was really frustrating to me, but I think that kind of triggered for me to react the way that I acted, because I wasn't in that moment of finding out, oh, this just happened today, or this just happened last week, right? So I had to actually process what you were telling me and how I was going to handle things. And so I was definitely calm. Like, I know it was like a couple days or a week or so that I was just like, I didn't want to be bothered with you, right? Yeah, that was the one thing. I didn't want to be bothered. I didn't want to be touched. I didn't want to be talked to. I didn't want to be looked at. Like, I just didn't want him in my space at all. And it was like, I just felt so disrespected and like betrayed. And it was just like why? So that whole couple of days, it was just me processing everything. And I honestly was going back like a timeline and just like, this is this, or this happened in this, and why you didn't know this, and why. And I was analyzing everything. So my mind was all over the place, but I really had to take that time to process where you were at the time, where I was, how things were going, and to see how we were going to move forward. Because like you said, I wasn't in a space where it was just like in that moment that you were telling me, it was so far removed. So I'm like, we said our vows before God, and we're in a marriage. Like, this is not just a relationship where I can just pack my bags and up and leave. Like, no, this is a serious commitment, right? And we always talked about, like, if we're getting married one time. Like, this is for the long haul. And so with him telling me, whereas my natural reaction would be to, I don't want to deal with this person, because he done told me he cheated. He probably going to cheat tomorrow or next year or whenever, because that's just a pattern that I was used to. So I had to really be mature about it and just process things and be like, you know what, this is our marriage. Like, we're going to talk about this. And I also had to, I want to say, just acknowledge your openness, right? Because like you said, you didn't have to tell me. Right. You could have took it to the grave with you and I would have never known. But just you being open and vulnerable to tell me, is like, I had to take that into account as well. Like, okay, he could have just kept this a secret and I could have just been living with my own little thoughts but not thinking anything happened, but that wasn't the case. So just taking that into account, but also realizing like, yeah, you did compromise our relationship. You compromised our trust, and I feel very betrayed. Right. I feel like a part of me kind of like, or our relationship just withered, right? Because I didn't feel like I could trust you. I didn't feel like I could trust anything that you were saying moving forward, and all your actions and all the good that you had did kind of like just was overshadowed by what you had dropped on me.
Right.
So yeah, I feel like that in itself, it just the timing and everything and how it affected our relationship was very different, because I know a lot of people ask us like, well, you know, my partner is cheating on me currently. What should I do? My partner just did this recently. What should I do? How should I handle it? And I don't want to necessarily be the person to say, oh, especially when you're in a marriage, because I understand that commitment before God. And I know that people have been in a marriage where they've been cheated on and they still, you know, get through that, overcome that, and are able to move forward. And so I don't want to be the person like, because of my own, you know, beliefs from before, like, oh, you should leave. Right? I would never say that to anyone, because I realize that people can change. You can create that change if you want to. But you as a person who's getting cheated on can't make that person change, right?
Yeah,
that person has to want to change for themselves. So if they're willing to put in the work and go through what they need to go through to create that change, and if it's you, like someone was asking on our Bible study, is like, you just giving what if the person gets tired of just giving that reassurance while that person is in their healing process? And it's just like, to be honest, you as the person that stepped out have to allow that person to have their healing process however they see fit.
Yeah, you don't dictate the timeline.
Right.
Like that.
Because you are the reason for that. Like if you didn't feel like you needed to do what you did and didn't have those actions, we wouldn't be in that place.
Right.
So how that person chooses to heal, the time that they need to heal, you need to allow them that opportunity to have that healing process and support them if you really want to be there for them. And you need to give that constant reassurance, because if not, they're going to be looking like, okay, well, what am I wasting my time for?
Right.
You already stepped out on me. You don't want to show me that you really want to be here. You're not committed to, you know, making me feel secure again within our relationship. So what are we doing?
Yeah.
So I feel like it's really important for the person who does step out to realize that you cause a whole bunch of, you know, chaos within your relationship, within your marriage. And it's up to you to be the person who changes your actions and the mindset of your partner to not feel insecure, not feel like they have to worry about your every moves now because of what you've done.
Yeah.
So I feel like you definitely took full advantage of doing that as far as with us.
That's what I was about to ask you, because like you said, a lot of times, you know, there's this saying floating out there that, you know, time heals everything. Mm-hmm. And you may think that time would just heal your wounds or the hurt from your partner stepping out on you. But I don't believe that time heals everything. I believe it's what actions you take within that time that brings healing.
Yes.
So
that's true.
What are some of the things that we did to take action and bring healing and bring trust back into the relationship? Like, what are some of the things that I did to help with your healing process?
So I think the first thing was us having a conversation, a very uncomfortable but needed and necessary conversation.
Right.
Because like you said, when you first told me, you like just told me or whatever, and I was so in shock, but I didn't want to react a certain way, so I just removed myself from being around you and kind of went to my own space to just process everything, right? So then when I was ready and I decided that I wanted to sit down and have a conversation with you to really figure out why and what was going on, you being open and honest and not holding back and allowing that conversation to happen was the first step. Because it's just like, okay, you could withhold information, or you could not want to answer certain things, or you could even get irritated or frustrated because it's like, okay, I told you, but I don't want to talk about it, which a lot of people do. And you weren't responding that way. So I feel like that was the first thing that helped for us to start the healing process.
Yeah, and just to touch on that, like, if you're gonna come out, tell the truth about everything. Mm-hmm. Don't try to lie, say, oh, it was this many years ago when it wasn't. Like, come out and tell the truth about everything. Like, lay everything out on the table. Don't try to, you know, mess up the timeline. Like, be honest. Mm-hmm. Like, be completely honest and get all your skeletons out the closet. And I think that's something I did. I didn't want to lie about the timelines or nothing. Like, I wanted to be completely honest and just let I should know the complete truth because I felt like she deserved to know the truth and be able to make the decisions after that.
Yeah. So the next part of that I feel like was us seeking some sort of counseling, right? Just being able to talk about it, and not even just with the counselor, but with ourselves as well. Being able to talk about it and move forward was a huge thing. And I mean, at that point, we already had each other's like passwords. We already knew each other's passwords to the phone and everything. But just making sure that it was like, oh, well, if your phone's laying around, I don't have to
down.
Yeah, I don't have to, hide it, or if I don't have to like feel like I gotta go vibrate. Take a phone call in another room or just act funny, or if I'm on social media or I'm doing this, that, and the third, which was another thing of you unfollowing certain people, which was not just like, oh, it's just like a random female, but a reason for why you're unfollowing that person. Like just doing things where you know that it's suspect and it's iffy and you shouldn't be doing it, and you taking those steps to actually change your actions and just create the environment that I need to have a peace of mind was really important, because it was a process. It was a process that we were definitely on for quite some time, because like I said, I had put in so much trust into you and into our relationship. And to have that trust broken, it was just like, I don't know what I'm about to do. And it was times where, like you said before, I would be in the process of healing, but constantly bring up your flaws and your faults on what you did, right? And I had to also work on that as well, because it was just like, if I told myself that I'm going to continue in this marriage, continue in this relationship, I'm going to try to build our trust again, I can't every time I'm mad throw what you told me back into your face, right? Because we're going to find ourselves in the same position, in the same spot, not moving forward, not trying to heal, not trying to overcome this obstacle. And so I had to be aware of that. It's just like, okay, Asha, if you want to move forward, if you want to move past this, like you have to, put on your big girl panties and stop, like every time you get frustrated or you get upset, throw this in his face and want to start, an argument bringing up the past, right? So that was something that I had to do on my end. And I realized just me doing that and me handling things and me allowing myself to process things fully, not placing the blame on myself, which I feel like a lot of people do when they get cheated on. Just handling things differently than I had handled in previous relationships, right? Because I had grown from so many years removed from that experience that I had in relationships before, that I knew I didn't want to have those same patterns moving forward, right? I didn't want to react the same way because I know how or where that got me.
Right.
So it was just like, okay, I'm going to handle this differently. I'm not going to, act irate and cause a scene and do all of these things that I would have potentially did. I'm going to just process things internally and allow myself really the time to heal and remove myself, which I think was really important for you to allow me that space as well to remove myself.
Yeah, because I think that a lot of times, like when you mess up and the person tries to, create space to really process things, like we try to, do everything to fight to get them back. Yeah. Like we try to make them feel bad for not accepting us for the wrong that we did. And I feel like it's very important to give that person their space. And when they're ready, they'll reach out to you. Like, right, you didn't want to be bothered with me. You didn't want me touching you and all that other stuff. Like, I'm not going to sit up there and press myself on you. Like, I understand that when you're ready, you will let me know. But right now, I need to fall back and give you your space and not try to cloud your judgment. Right. Not try to talk you out of what decision you need to make, but just allow you to decide how we're moving forward.
So I feel like to give advice, because like I said, this is a topic that so many people have requested. So many people ask us constantly about, cheating, infidelity. And I feel like it's so unique to every situation. Like everyone's situation is different. It depends on, it does depend on like how far along you're in your marriage, right? Or in your relationship.
Somebody's history,
timing,
like
your
the history of cheating is something that continues to happen. Like,
yes. So I feel like you can't give a just very generic answer to those questions. And that's why I like to take the time out when we do answer and give advice to, you know, kind of like answer specifically to each person, right? And that's what it's just like. And having this conversation is not like we're talking about our relationship and giving advice, whereas, if you cheated, you should stay, or if he cheated or she cheated, you should leave. Like, you can't do that. And I feel like I said with our situation, at a point in time, if you had told me maybe sooner or before we had got engaged, I may have not had walked down that aisle, you know? And so that's why I feel like you have to be honest. You have to be, you know, true to yourself and to your situations, because things could have been very differently depending on the timing.
Right.
And depending on the season that we were in, because if he was, like you said, you were still in that phase when you were younger, you didn't have that growth before or after that you had after we got married beforehand. So if he's still in that season and you telling me, I'm gonna let you go ahead, ball out for the rest of your season. You know what I mean? I'm not about to sit here and wait around for you to figure it out, right? So I feel like that's why it's important for us to, you know, kind of relay that message and that advice, that it depends on your own unique situation. And even being married, just having to constantly deal with someone who's cheating on you over and over again. And as much as they say, you know, you're married and you're supposed to stay and get past it, it's just like, no, I can't even say that,
because you can't throw that in somebody's face like, we married, we're supposed to work through this. Well, you married, you're not supposed to cheat either.
Yeah.
So don't try to hold somebody to something when you're not following as well. Like, you really need to take accountability.
Yes.
And I feel like if there's one last thing that I want to say in this podcast is directed to the men, is just like, we have to change. Like, we have to take accountability. Like, we can't keep using things that, you know, may have, you know, swayed our perception in the past. We can't allow, you know, us not seeing love growing up. We can't allow what we were taught a man was to really dictate how we move in our lives. Like, we have to step up and be that man that our women need. Like, we need to treat them like queens, and we need to treat ourselves like kings. Like, we need to respect ourselves. Like, don't make decisions that you know is going to hurt the person that you love about just to fulfill a need in the moment, right? Don't do something that can potentially hurt your kids and your kids' future. Like, think about the consequences of your actions. Like, we got to step up. We got to man up and do better. We got to break the cycles in our families, in our generations, in our community, and really show people what is meant to be a man. And that's just to step up and be there for your partner. Step up and be there for your kids.
Yeah. So, you guys, like I said, this was probably a very long, maybe the longest podcast that we've done.
Probably.
Because this is a very serious topic. A lot of people, like I said, have asked about it. We could probably go on for way longer talking about it. But, you know, who knows? Maybe down the line we might dig deeper and touch on something else based off of questions or comments that you guys have. But like I said before, if y'all do have questions, or you're looking for advice, or you're in a situation where you are dealing with infidelity, your partner's cheating, send us an email, send us a DM, let us know. We're going to answer you specifically, like I said, because you cannot give a very generic,
one size fits all,
right, at all. You can't give a very just generic answer to your question about what you should do when it comes to cheating. So if y'all have a question, make sure y'all give us y'all questions. Send it to us. Email us. Okay?
Our email is questions@REALationships.podcast.com. Yes. Or you can go to our Instagram and DM us. Our Instagram is Relationships Podcast, and we're going to get back to you as soon as possible. We get a lot of emails and a lot of DMs, but we still try to, you know, get back to everybody who reaches out to us, because, man, we all just trying to work through this together. We all just trying to, you know, navigate, you know, relationships and marriage together and just bring back, you know, real love.
Yeah.
Like, I just feel like it's so important for, you know, people who are in the public eye to just be open and honest about relationships. Be open and honest about, you know, problems that you face in a relationship and, you know, how you can work through it together. So like I said, man, we just trying to build a community of real ones who ain't afraid to talk about, you know, the real struggles. We're not afraid to celebrate our partners, right? And work through things together. So, man, I hope this episode really helps you guys. Like I said before, I hope that our transparency leads to someone's transformation. And we just appreciate y'all continuing to tune in and listen to us. And we hear y'all. Like, when y'all suggest us to do certain episodes, we're gonna do it. We not hiding from no type of topics. We've been through a lot as a couple, so I'm pretty sure we can touch on a lot of topics. So just let us know what y'all want to hear about, and we'll be an open book and let y'all know, man, this is what we've been through, and these are the steps that we took to really overcome the hurdles that we faced in our relationship or real relationship. Excuse me.
And hopefully, you know, you guys can see that us, you know, going through so much, this is a marriage, a true marriage, 4 years going on 5, that, you know, we did overcome this type of infidelity or cheating, and we're striving for greatness. We're going strong. We have trust in our relationship. So it hopefully allows you to just have a glimpse of hope for your relationship if you're going through it, that it can change, it can get better. And yeah, we hope you guys enjoy this episode.
Hold on. Let me sit up. I want to look into this camera real quick. If you are watching this, right, I want you to look me in my eyes. Leave a review. Leave a 5-star review. Leave a comment. Do not hop off this episode after we just, you know, spewed all our business out there without leaving a review.
Leave a comment.
Thank you kindly.
Yes. I thought you was about to give some words of wisdom.
That is wisdom. Please review.
Yes, you guys. So until next time, keep it real.
Yes, sir.